So if you're wanting to embark on your art journey and master those key elements, I'm going to share with you 5 essential tips that I wish I knew from the get-go. I'm Jacob, a new member of the YouTube community, but what I do have is an area of expertise within my own art practice. Now, I've featured my work in exhibitions previously while having countless hours in my studio easel. Let's cut to the chase and get started on what I believe are the key fundamentals for beginning any art practice. So I guess the first thing that I feel is most important is to start a sketchbook. Now, as artists and creatives, we tend to romantically imagine a vision of what it is that we need to create, whether that be a beautiful painting, tapestry, or sculpture. But here is the problem as a beginner or just a straight novice. You go out and buy your canvases and brushes, and you have this perfect image in mind. So maybe you've already found that perfect image reference from Pinterest and you just know it's going to look so great hanging on your wall. And 20 to 30 minutes in, you're sweating and you're on the verge of snapping your paintbrushes in half. And let me tell you, I've been there. It looks nothing like the reference or how you imagined it to be. Just can't seem to find any solution for this problem. I've done this where I put it to one side and I never actually touched that canvas again. Maybe even painting over it one day. But with a sketchbook, this entire entry barrier to creativity is just lifted. And what I want you to remember is maybe after, a decade of all of this time from my dedication of painting, after countless hours of output, you begin to realize that you, the actual artist, you can't guarantee that you're going to love absolutely everything that you create. Because even after many years, you still need to bridge the skill gap between what that perfect work of art is in your vision and your ability to execute it through the skills and experiences you have. So a sketchbook in a way is almost like the backstage of a movie set. It's your place to fail time and time again, so to reveal all of your perfectly executed techniques on the canvas. And really, I believe the true key of overcoming frustration with painting and drawing is through the sketchbook. It's the place for all of your bad art, the art that you're not exactly proud of, which means that it's the perfect place to discover what exactly doesn't work. And really, at the start, during my beginner days, I really just wish I used that sketchbook more. Now, it's great these days, you can watch a demo just like this one and you can even ask ChatGPT. But really, my honest piece of advice is to just do it so you can learn from it and get it wrong. I also see no end of experts critiquing other people, other artists, usually in the Facebook comment section. But nobody at any point, especially in the arts, mastered something firstly without getting it wrong. I had this exact experience at university where altogether I spent nearly hundreds of pounds on all these artisan products and the exact gesso I needed, the exact canvas I needed. Really investing a lot of time and money into this project to recreate a masterpiece by Turner. I had so much faith in this project. I even found this rare piece of literature on his supposed methods and techniques of how he exactly created this piece. But guess what? I still failed simply because I didn't use my sketchbook. I got so excited about this project that I just jumped headfirst straight in onto the canvas, without actually consulting that sketchbook first to see how the materials worked, how they behaved. And this really is in principle why a sketchbook is great. It's a place to try the cheapest paints off Temu. Why is it that that pigment is so cheap? Try out your new £50, 20ml tube of gold pigment. Is it actually what it says it is? A sketchbook is a fail-safe. Ultimately, your place to be a messy child again, because a serious and careful professional will fail where the child succeeds. We practice and knowledge gained through experimentation. And with this brings me on to step 2 in this video, that beginner sets are not always better. And as I have previously been a broke art student myself, I've been guilty of this. But it's not to say that you can't make a great drawing from office pencils, because I for sure know that you can. And I kind of mean this in specific regard to painting. What I will argue is that the canvas or the board, the papers that you choose, the support, completely dictate the results that you get. Then I will say the quality of the brushes, then the paints matter in that order. And this is something I feel like no one ever told me or at least showed me when I was beginning and starting out. It's almost like having a Ferrari with the fastest engine, but you're going to go nowhere because your wheels are from the discounted section of a damaged multi-pack. As a broke beginner, if I could put my money anywhere into my art, it would literally just be on the canvas or the support. And maybe then some good, fairly decent quality brushes, followed by, I'd say, okay quality paints. After all, even if the paint is of poor quality, let's say that cheap pencil set that you bought is not getting them results, at least you've gone all out on the foundations and the very beginnings and the support of your painting. Another key thing to remember here is once you have them great quality tools, the high quality stuff, it just makes your job so much easier as an artist. Because the irony with beginner sets is they're marketed as beginner friendly and are often cheaper. As an experienced artist, I can honestly say it's generally easier making quality work quicker with the actual genuine brands. And I actually did a video on this where I truly discovered just how much more difficult things were just by using the cheapest of the cheap. Companies often cut costs by adding more vehicle or oil rather than pigments. I find decreasing the control of the brushwork and increasing the drying time, meaning that you actually need more patience than a professional artist might have. So even mid-market options are truly made for artists in mind and usually by artists. For example, even with paintbrushes, there's always going to be separate markets in mind for the target of the product, because really I found that some cheaper paintbrushes do work just fine. However, some cheaper sets like multi-packs are often just made for kind of like children's art classes. Again, inherently, there's not anything really wrong with this. However, it's really important to consider the results that you're aiming for. What are your objectives? So usually with brushes, the price is a clear reflection of the quality in my experience. However, the same really just can't be said for all of our suppliers. And this brings me to step 3 in this video. I'll touch on this a bit more quickly, because although this is an important tip, this is something I find that is still just so individual. As an experienced artist, I want to remind you that all mediums are ultimately created equal, no matter if I am an oil painter, a photographer, or even a performance artist. It's key to remember that all art forms are equally as valid. But as someone that has been oil painting and drawing for a good part of over 10 years, I would say, there is still a huge catalogue and difference of types of medium, types of paints. You've got watercolours, gouache, oil, it never stops, acrylics. And then with that is so many different types of drawing mediums and drawing tools, charcoal, graphite. And I mean, really, the list is kind of endless. So actually, this brings me back to my first experience of painting ever. And this was actually in school, with the cheapest sort of tin of watercolour that they could provide. These are the types that I just wouldn't recommend to anyone, not even a child artist. To top it all off, what was worse than that was actually the support they gave you was the horrible printing paper, cartridge paper, that was just completely designed for one thing alone, just printing. And I don't know if you guys remember the fun part at the end, the experience in school where you'd all put your soggy kind of watercolour papers in the drying rack with all the other kids. Why is this experience relevant? Because if we were actually provided with something just a little bit better, maybe some GSM graded watercolour paper, something a bit thicker, maybe some of the really lucky kids got the really special paints, the kind of tempera or the heavily bodied acrylic. And I actually believe that us kids in that class would have improved our skills tenfold just by, again, simply having the right tool for the job. Because as a professional artist, I would just never dream of working on copier paper, like that A4 printer paper stuff you get in an office. That's not because I'm too good for that stuff or that I need fancy, artisan bragging rights. It's simply just because you are just incapable of creating the same quality with poor materials. In future videos, I really hope to share more about that and learn more about that with you guys. Once again, it's really important to remember there's no rules with this stuff, just much more effective ways of truly achieving the results that we want. So step number 4, building a healthy inner critic. This is probably the hardest one on the list. I find that this actually extends into all parts of life. With that, there's this beautiful Stoic quote that goes along the lines of, be tolerant with others, but strict with yourself. So if you truly wish to master a skill for any end, you must question your why. Are you seeking validation? Is it your big dream to be a professional artist? After a long time, after a long period of realization, I've kind of found that the why for me is more about the journey, not necessarily all of these outcomes and achievements. Now, why is all of this relevant to your inner critic? Well, the truth is, as an artist or as any reasonable person, you're always going to be battling your inner critic for life. Best advice I've found is to always work with yourself. This really comes down to the importance of defining success on your own terms. After all, this is your own life, right? If we allow an art teacher or an art gallery to define those limits, they might say, oh, you're not good enough, or you just haven't got it, really. That's where our limit will always be. If you're fortunate enough in this world to have free will, even the money in your account to go and buy a canvas and a paint set, just do it. Getting good at something, and even trying to get good at something, doesn't happen overnight. But the truth is, only you can decide to keep that thing going. Because even professional artists have been rejected. Most of the time, it actually has nothing to do with how accomplished your skills are. Or maybe you believe that your whole vibe doesn't fit the pretentious network of the gallery, which plays so heavily on this idea of talent and a gift. What I think is really more important than artistic talent is resilience. We look back to the greats like Basquiat, Warhol, and Van Gogh. All of these great artists have something fairly in common. Because actually, I truly believe there would have been people around at that time that, numerically, it's a fact that there would have been people that could just paint better than them and draw better than them. Which proves to me that talent isn't the determining factor. And really, the key left behind is the dedication to the true artistic vision, with that constant desire to keep creating. Even in Van Gogh's case, no one thought he was any good during his time, and now his work is valued in the multi-millions by the elites. But whether the external world hates you or loves you, this really becomes indifferent, because a lot of the time the inner critic is just noise, fear of mediocrity or fear of rejection. This brings me to the last step in the video. Number 5, you have to enjoy the process. And if you disagreed with all of my points in the previous steps, just know that this one is the most important one right here. That is to just simply do it for you, whether you're a professional that's actually earned a career from your art and what you're doing, or someone starting right from the bottom, regardless of the skills and the talent that you might have. The key of staying consistent as an artist is literally just enjoyment. For me, this is personally what I found was most helpful at university, especially in the first year with the whole soul-searching aspect. That's the really important stuff, because it's so much easier to just earn a living another way. There's truly no need in rushing to try and find this artistic vision and voice so early on. And once you do make a living from your art, or if you don't, at least you enjoyed the process. Now, everyone's path is going to look different, but you must truly follow what you actually want to do, otherwise you're just going to lose the point of it. I actually find my work is best when it's not a commission or someone else's requested vision, but truly one of my own that's my own motivator and my own vision, with no pressures and all of the freedom in the world. And this is the most important step, because it quite literally is the underlying motivator for picking up a paintbrush in the first place. It will ultimately be the reason why you continue, even in the face of adversity, rejection, or if you're struggling to sell your work. Or that in sometimes life can just get difficult, because the pure joy of creativity is what truly brought me back to my art. I have so much faith in this joy that there really isn't another answer. So make sure to do it for you and you alone, whether you're an art student or professional. Just know why you started. So guys, if you found any of these tips useful or not so useful, please make sure to leave me a comment below so that we can start a discussion. Remember that this video is really just them 5 tips of helping beginners out. Really just sharing them key insights that I wish I had when I was 17. If you really enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe and suggest another topic that you'd like me to create a video about. Thank you so much guys, and I'll see you in the next one.